All right, Arc 3.0 is here. Well, almost here. We got some info on it though, and so I figured I would just jump in with y'all and take a look at everything we have. Just first initial reactions. I read kind of the news earlier and just honestly, and just so pumped. Like, the Titan thruster movement that they've announced is so near and dear to my heart, because back Destiny 1, my first introduction to the community basically was the very first movie of the week I ever won, which was all about the Twilight Garrison and the movement abilities that you could do with it. Just a bunch of slow motion, in-air, rocket dodging awesomeness that you could do. And while this isn't that, you know, they've changed a few things, it's still just like, I was like emotional reading. Like, I did not think that this was gonna come to D2, and I wasn't one of the ones just all upset about it, but I was like, you know, it was a part of my D1 experience, is that kind of movement tech, and so it's really cool to see it being brought over. And I just want to kind of just share that excitement with you guys and kind of dive into some of the notes that we got here. Okay, so let's just start at the top. There's a few things they're bringing with Arc 3.0, some new words that we got to use here. Amplified is this new thing, a new boost that you're getting, like kind of how we got Radiant with Solar 3.0. We're getting Amplified with Arc 3.0. And being amplified lets you do different things on all the different classes, but just in general, if you're amped, you can get a speed boost whenever you're running that lets you do a longer slide and gives you PvE damage reduction. So that all sounds really cool. It's really cool that they're separating PvE and PvP to where PvE damage resistance isn't brought over into PvP. And then also on top of that, we've got words like blind and jolt. Blind we're used to, but jolt is something that's a little different. And whenever somebody's jolted and they're damaged, it's going to send out a bolt to nearby enemies that's going to damage them a little bit more. Kind of like chaining electricity, it kind of sounds like. So that's really cool. And then 4 is Ionic Traces that Warlocks used to be specifically for them. All classes are getting that. And I think this might be kind of like the sleeper thing for all the classes, because there's stuff with Void 3.0 that people have kind of forgotten about already, like Devour on every subclass. I feel like nobody's running that, but Devour on every subclass is huge. And I feel like Ionic Traces is kind of going to be that sleeper thing here where you're gaining back energy, and maybe there's some ways to stack that with the different classes, PvE and PvP. So I'm really, really excited about Ionic Traces for every class. As far as class specifics, let's just start from the top with Hunter. Hunters get a new super altogether, Gathering Storm super, which kind of sounds like an anti-Well of Radiance, like some mix between like a Well of Radiance and a Thunder Crash, where they just slam it down and then there's this area of effect that sounds really cool. It sounds more my style. The Arc Staff doesn't really do it for me that much. I'm not a like huge fan of roaming supers in general. I kind of like the one and done, like something super strong and powerful that you just use right away to either just, you know, destroy the other person's super so you can get back to the tactical fighting, or something that you can place down in one spot, like the bubble kind of, to do a little bit more zone control. So I really like this Gathering Storm super. It sounds really cool. Oh yeah. And now Hunters are getting Blink. We're getting Blink back, so that's really cool. Love Blink. And Blink's getting a general buff, so I feel like this is going to come for the Void Warlock Blink as well. For melees, you got the combination. I don't want to just pass by this. Hunters getting Blink, that's a huge deal. I don't feel like I'm going to use Blink as much, but I don't know, maybe I will. We'll see. I had a lot of fun recently using Blink on my Yeet Machine glaive that I made. I feel like Blink was one of the funnest ways to use that. Just hilarious to blink into a group of enemies. And now actually, I'm thinking we'll get to it later, but there's a fragment that's going to stack with being surrounded. And that sounds super strong for the Yeet Machine build in particular. But so Blink is going to be really fun. I'm excited. The melees for the Hunter, you're getting the combination blow and the disorienting blow. And then on top of that, you've got your 3 aspects that they listed here. And one of those is a Tempest Strike melee. So whenever you slide, you can do that arc uppercut thing and send the arc wave on the ground. And I know a lot of people are probably going to gravitate toward flow state aspect, which is a faster dodge, recharge, and damage resistance and reload after you get amped. But I think that Tempest Strike and Lethal Current, like if you can chain those together, Lethal Current is the new one that after dodging, your melee lunge range is increased and the melee attack jolts and leaves lightning aftershocks. And then if the enemy's already jolted, then they're blinded after the melee too. There's just a lot going on with Lethal Current. And then it also buffs your Arc Staff super to do double melee hits as well in your Arc super. I think so. If you can stack Lethal Current and Tempest Strike, Lethal Current's doing so much, adding the Jolt effect and also leaving that Lightning Aftershock. If you could combine that with Tempest Strike, that sounds really cool. I'm not sure if that's going to be possible, but my mind's already rolling like, what can I combine here? With the Warlock, I think there's some really cool stuff here. Like, yeah, you've got Chaos Freak, you've got your normal Storm Trance. Storm Trance is getting both Landfall and Ionic Blink in its little sub-tree now, just kind of inherently with the subclass. With the melees, you've got the Ball Lightning and the Chain Lightning. That all sounds great. The amped supercharges to those melees is where I think it gets interesting, and that's where they're focusing in on this subclass. The amped abilities, once you're amped, you get 3 shocks on that Ball Lightning that you send out, and then whenever you chain stuff with the Chain Lightning, you're chaining to more opponents. So all this stuff sounds really good for PvE in particular. I think the Ball Lightning could be cool for PvP and really strategic plays. Someone's hiding, go around the corner, but I think where it gets really interesting for me, and I don't feel like anybody's talking about this either, you've got the aspects. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that the being amped and having your melee and grenades do more stuff is cool, but the aspects with the Arc Soul, that's cool too, you know, getting stronger Arc Souls if you're amped, that's great. The Lightning Surge though, like, I feel like I haven't heard anybody talk about it. Did y'all know that Ball Lightning's a real thing? Like, that's like a real, I mean, it's kind of rumored, no one's ever actually really captured it, but if you Google like Ball Lightning, like that's an actual occurrence where a ball of lightning like travels along the ground and then like explodes, and they've kind of turned that into a melee slide ability for the Warlock, where you slide and melee and kind of teleport forwards, and then you explode where you land. It says you teleport forward, calling down lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts the targets. And I don't know, that just sounds amazing to me. Like, that sounds really cool. And I don't love Warlock stuff that much. I'm not, like, Warlock is probably like my least played class, but that Lightning Surge sounds really, really cool. Like, I am so pumped to play that. If you can't feel it, like, I'm excited, I'm electrified. I'm like really excited about all this stuff. And Destiny does that to me in general. But something about the Arc stuff, it kind of felt not as exciting to me lately. Arc Titan, Arc Warlock was probably the most interesting to me, actually. But just this whole thing has got me amped, you know? I keep using these words, but I just can't help it. Electrostatic Mind, Arc abilities and kills on Arc debuff enemies create Ionic Traces. When you collect any Ionic Trace, you become amplified. I'm not sure how that, because Ionic Traces are with every class now, so I'm curious how this will play out specifically for Warlock. Like I said, the main thing that stands out to me here is the Lightning Surge. Like, that just sounds so cool. Anything that's like a movement tech, teleport forward, like that, does that not sound cool to y'all? That just sounds amazing. Okay, for Titans, we've got the supers that we know. Thunder Crash, they're not changing much there. Fist of Havoc, though, they've kind of put it in between the sub trees. If you pick top or bottom, it would be a little bit bigger of a smash or smaller of an area of effect. And now they're kind of meeting a middle ground there, but they're giving you the aftershock if you do it in the air. That's great. I think I'm still going to be leaning towards Thunder Crash. Like I mentioned, I like the one and done. Just get rid of the other opponent as quickly as possible. Don't let them counter you. You don't have as much of an area to mess up. It's funny, I like riskier plays when it comes to like weapons and like the risk reward, but in supers, I don't like the risk. I just like getting it done. Okay, the new class ability, Thruster. I'm just so pumped. Like I said earlier, like I was like emotional when I was reading it, but like I could just cry tears of joy to be able to do some kind of movement Titan dodge thing. That just sounds so cool. And I'm so excited to see how you can chain that with other stuff. I know some people can be negative about this stuff, like, they're bringing more things that are going to break the Crucible. But really, let's just have fun with it, guys. Like, that's my take on it. It's just, this game is just all about what is the cool space magic thing I can do. And I just want to have fun with it, and this sounds really fun, and this just hits home for me, makes me feel like that D1 Titan again, so I'm really excited about it. The melees here, and the melees, you've got Seismic Strike, just like normal, the shoulder charge, but then you've also got Ballistic Slam, and so we've still got that option, and they've added a third option, the Thunderclap. But I'm so stoked for Thunderclap because it adds a strategic level of play where you could one-shot if you time it just right. It kind of reminds me of the stasis Warlock, how if you throw it on the rift at just the right time, that's an immediate, you know you're going to kill them because you got them frozen right there. And so the Thunderclap, I feel like if you time it just right, like maybe they get you weak, you go around a corner, you start charging it up and they think they're going to one-shot you and you time that slap just at the right time. I wonder if it's going to like put you in third person or something to help you out a little bit. That might be OP. I don't know. That might be a little too much, but I'm really excited to be able to do this ability. I can't see it not putting you in third person though. Like it feels like it would have to give that feeling of the charge, you know? I just can't picture it if you're stuck in a stationary position in first person, you know? So I'm curious how that plays out. Maybe we'll get a peek at it tomorrow. For sure we'll get a peek at it on Tuesday. I'm pumped about it. I'm so pumped about it. I feel like I'm going to be maining Titan pretty hard this next season. Maybe not for the reasons that other people are, and that's what I'm going to get to now. Is I think a lot of people are going to go for the aspect Juggernaut. Everybody's so afraid of Juggernaut. I really don't think they're going to overkill it. I really think that shield's not going to be too strong. I could eat my words, you know, but it feels like maybe like a 40 HP overshield, something that's not. I feel like in Destiny 1 it felt like a 100 HP overshield or something like that. I could be over exaggerating. I wasn't as into the numbers back then as I am now, but I don't think that's what I'm going to be running. The Touch of Thunder grenades, where it like buffs every Titan grenade that you have, sounds really cool. The Storm grenade, where it gives you a thundercloud that roams and sends down lightning, and then I'm going to combine that with something else in a second here, but that sounds awesome. But so does like having flashbangs that do a double blinding effect when it hits the ground and then again later when it explodes. And then Knockout is the last aspect, where melee kills trigger health regen and make your Titan amplified. And then once you have Knockout going, if you just critically wound someone or break the shield, you get increased melee range and damage. And then while you have Knockout, and that might actually be, you may get that without even having Knockout, because the next one it says while you have Knockout, your normal melee is arc powered. So I think that there's a chance that even before you get a melee kill, before you have Knockout active, that if you just critically wound or break the shield of an enemy, you get increased melee range and damage. I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out tomorrow as well. I haven't seen any clarifications on it, but it sounds really strong. Increased melee range and damage is huge for a Titan. It's already been a big thing. It doesn't look like you get the extra damage that we used to get with like Inertia Override and stuff like that, which is kind of a bummer. But I think I'm going to still be running that Touch of Thunder and Knockout. Like that sounds like a good combo. I know a lot of people are going to be running Juggernaut and Knockout, but Touch of Thunder sounds really good. I think there's some strategic plays there, and I'm just more in the strategic mindset. And so that's why things like Thruster and Touch of Thunder just really call out to me, and Thunderclap too. Just all that together, it just sounds like so much potential. So I'm pumped. I've said that so much, but I'm so excited. Fragments. Okay, this is where I wanted to start combining stuff. I'm getting pumped already, and we only know a few of them. There could be so much more, and that's where I want to say that I was messaging someone on Twitter. I was just like thinking like Inertia Override. Are we not gonna have the damage from that anymore because we've got this Spark of Momentum? So sliding over ammo will reload your weapon and grant you a small amount of melee energy, and sliding over heavy ammo increases that amount. So it's kind of like Inertia Override but without the damage. And I'm wondering if maybe there's a fragment that maybe perhaps gives you some kind of damage. That's not really what the point of Arc 3.0 is, though. It's not about buffing any damage, so I don't think we're gonna get it, but I don't know. We'll see. We don't know. There's tons more fragments. We don't know what they do yet. Spark of Beacons, when a player is amplified, arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. So we're gonna need to look out for all our arc weapons, dig down deep, see what we got. I know a lot of this stuff is going to go really good with that plug one I was talking about in one of my last videos, the kickstart plug one. All the rushing in and sliding, getting your kickstart off. If you're amped, then you're getting a blinding explosion on that kickstart kill that's already 20% damage boost, and you're doing it really fast because of kickstart. It sounds pretty strong. Spark of Resistance, when surrounded by enemies, players have increased damage resistance. This is the one that I feel like if I combine it with the Yeet Machine Glaive and just run in, and I've got damage resistance and I'm one-shotting everyone else. And not only that, but I'm on like an arc subclass and I'm blinking in with an arc hunter, and then I have damage resistance, and then I'm one-shotting everyone with a glaive. That sounds disgusting. That sounds like people are going to be upset that I'm even talking about this, let alone playing against it. So this sounds fun. It's my version of fun, just breaking the game. And then the last fragment, Spark of Shock, a player's arc grenades jolt enemies. So that kind of turns every grenade into one that will chain to other players, it sounds like. So all really cool stuff. Everything I'm super excited for. I'm so amped to play this. I really am. And I hope you feel the excitement. I wanted to do this video because I feel like I emanate, like I play this game for the fun of it. I make these videos for the fun of it. I've been involved in the community for 7 years because of the fun of it. Anything that increases our fun factor. Whenever I did the podcast a long time ago, RezoCast, we did that for like 2 years. My main goal of that was I don't want to like dissect the game and break it down in terms of, yeah, I do that now with numbers, but I don't want to break it down in terms of just critique all the time. I'm just here to have fun. You got plenty of other people to watch who are going to critique like the dangers of all this in the Crucible. I'm just here to amp us up and to have fun because that's what I'm doing with the game. And I like listening to people who are helping my enjoyment of the game. And so that's what I want to do for you guys, is get you guys pumped for this. It sounds really fun. This is just my general breakdown of it. Thought I'd do something different. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, GG.